to manage stress. And let me just wait for her to share her screen. Yeah, there you go. Next slide, please. Yeah, I'm just curious, maybe hearing from one or two people. Okay, welcome to Kampala. My power just went off. So I'm going to have to turn my video off because it's pretty dark and I won't have time to go get alternative lighting. That's why I'm going to turn my video off. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I just want to hear from one or two people. What are your expectations for this session? When you heard about stress management, what comes up for you? What are you expecting to learn in our time together? You can put on the chat or you can unmute your mic. Just one or two people.
I think for me, what I would expect to learn is how to actually deal with stress. Like, if someone I'm stressed, to deal with it there and then, like hands on. Because usually, like, I would like, just put it in the back. I'll deal with you later. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Some strategies how to manage stress. Thank you, Ronnie. Any of the persons who want to share or want to put on chat?
Yeah, basically, what I'm expecting is what to know, what is stress, how do you manage it, what are the causes at times, and how do I go about it if I feel I'm stressed.
Okay, thank you, Peace. All right, because of time, we'll just move on to the next slide, please. Yes, I'm hoping that in our time together, we will get to all of this. You know, what is stress? What is the difference between healthy and toxic stress? We'll discuss what you call stress triggers and how do we manage or identify them. We'll talk about impact of stress on our mental health and overall well-being, and then also learn some practical and proactive ways to manage stress within professional and personal settings. Next slide, please. Yeah, so according to the World Health Organization, they look at stress as a state of worry or mental tension caused by a difficult situation. So stress is one of those natural human responses that will prompt us to address a challenge. You know, think about when you drop your bag in the middle of, maybe not the city, but you're walking and your bag drops. You're going to be stressed, so you'll easily want to pick up your bag, make sure that nothing has fallen off. You're going to have a bit of response to that. So I don't you feel threatened. We'll talk a lot bit about threats in a minute. And so we all experience stress, as you can see from the definition. But the way we respond to stress, however, will make a big difference in our lives. Next slide, please. Yeah, so we have what we call healthy good stress. Not sure if you've heard about this. So this is a type of stress we may feel when you're excited. You know, your pulse is going to quicken, your hormones are going to surge. You're not afraid. You're just really excited. Think about when you're going for a first date with somebody that you like, you know, the little anxiety that you're going to have. It's a little bit of stressful, but it's not bad stress. When you're going to start a new job, you know, picking up your dress or your suit that you're going to wear or your shirt, you're really excited to get into a new job. And so that's what you call good stress. A little bit anxious, but not the bad anxiety. And that good stress will help us to be excited, you'll have energy, and it's an important thing in our lives. That once in a while, there are new things we're doing that is going to make us feel excited. And you know, research shows us that a certain level of stress is good for us to keep our mind and our body alert, ready to respond, and can be a motivating factor for us to do our very best in our different roles. Any examples of healthy stress that you can think about? You can put it on chat. Okay, at your next slide, please. So why is it important for us to have healthy stress? I've kind of alluded to this already. Cognitive benefits. If stress is for very short term, it can positively impact our memory and will prepare us for a new task. It helps us to build resilience. Think about if you are a student and you have a class presentation coming up. It's a little bit stressful getting all the resources together, getting the slides together, making sure they look good. And during that time, you may be stressed, yes, but you're going to learn a lot about yourself. You're going to learn about your skills and your limits. You may learn that, for example, you're the person who wants your presentation slides ready a week before the actual date. You know that if you do it closer to the presentation date, you're a little bit more stressed than most people. So it helps you learn resilience, or also bring self-awareness. And the more we learn about who we are, what we are capable of, we are going to build resilience for similar tasks in the future. Kind of getting back to a presentation thing. The very first time I'm sure you did a presentation, you're a little bit anxious. The next time you felt better because you now know how to talk better, you know how to prepare your materials. So it built a level of resilience for you. Now, the unhealthy stress is what we call acute stress. So that's stress that develop very quickly, but do not last very long. It's what you feel in the immediate threat, whether it's real or perceived. And with stress, remember, it's the perception that triggers stress. If I perceive that I am threatened, that I'm in danger, that I'm going to be harmed, then I'm going to be stressed. For example, you are in the middle of completing, for those of you who are doing your finals, and we have a take-home exam, and in the middle of getting things done, and you're like, oops, power goes off and you hadn't saved your changes, you're going to be stressed, but you remember, you know what, I can redo this work. So you'll resolve that really quickly. If you're in the office and the fire alarm goes off in the kitchen, you're going to be stressed about that. That's an acute stress. It's going to come quickly, but hopefully it can be resolved quickly as well. For those of you who are parents, imagine for moms, you're going back to work for the very first day after maternity leave, and your nanny gets a bad fever at night. So you are going to be very stressed in the moment because you're figuring out, how do I go to work when my nanny is sick and I can't take my baby? It's something you're able to resolve quickly by maybe calling a family member to come help you take care of the baby for that day. Next slide, please. There's what you call chronic stress. From the word chronic, it means it's persistent, it's consistent, it extends for a long period of time and can be very, very overwhelming. So it's chronic. For example, in the workplace, if there's consistent interpersonal conflicts, excessive workloads, poor communication, inadequate support, and clear roles, if that is ongoing, you're going to have what you call chronic stress. Within the family, constant fights and disagreement. If constantly with our siblings or with our partners, we are constantly fighting, that is going to be what we'll call an example of chronic stress. And chronic stress can impact both our physical and psychological well-being. Next slide, please. Triggers. So a trigger can be a person, can be a place, can be a thing, can be a situation that will elicit an intense or unexpected emotional response. I know I hear people using all this word all the time. Oh, why are you triggering me? That's a trigger for me. So our stress triggers can be, like I said, can be a person, could be a personality. For some people, they're easily triggered by somebody who's talkative, by somebody who's high on control, by somebody, for some people, when are triggered by someone who's too clean and too structured and too organized. Maybe they had a parent who was like that. And so if they go to work and they have this desk mate who is like that, they're going to be triggered every time they go to work. Can be a building, for somebody who may have been trapped in a house when there's a fire, for example. Could you please go back? Thank you. if they go into a room that has a similar structure, they may easily be triggered. If they feel I am trapped in this room, there's only one tiny door, I can't run if something happens, and be triggered in buildings like that. I know that sometimes I have that kind of reaction in certain physical spaces where I just don't feel safe. Or for some people, situations, if you have limited control, that could be a trigger for you. Next slide, please. So if you think about your own life, I've given some examples of triggers. What are your stress triggers? You can unmute your mic or you can put it on chat. Anybody want to share? Okay, Teresa, you can go ahead.
I think one of my stress triggers is when my day is not going as planned, because
Mm,
every morning I wake up, I plan my whole day. Then when one thing happens that is
mm,
not according to what I planned, I get stressed.
mm,
Yeah.
mm. Thinking you, it sounds like when you feel out of control, when something shows up that you didn't plan for it, that's going to be stressful. Anybody else? Acho, you have your hand up. What are
Yeah,
yours?
I keep wondering, do I also come in and share? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
Can I?
definitely.
Yeah, so I've mentioned before, I don't know how many people may know this, but I've experienced war before. So I
Mm,
am very much triggered by fireworks because
mm,
when I hear fireworks and don't see them, they remind me of gunshots. So then it alleviates like a particular fear in me. And
mm,
yeah,
mm,
so it's I never knew it until it actually happened, and it happened several times. Then I was like very much aware of how much fireworks actually trigger me.
mm. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, and because with what you went through is that what you're having is more of a trauma response. Like your brain literally connects the sound of fireworks to the gunshots that you heard several years ago. So yeah, one or two more people. What are your stress triggers? Let me see if there's anything on chat. No, there's nothing yet. Somebody said a one-sided communication with a loved one. Yeah, feels like being ghosted and stuff like that, or somebody is not being as communicative. Thank you, Rogers. And one more person who wants to put on chat or let us know their stress triggers. All right, thank you all for sharing. It's really important to know what your stress triggers are. If and to think deeply about it. Where is this coming from? If I'm triggered by being ghosted, for example, in a relationship, um, what's really triggering for me about being ghosted? Is it making me feel unworthy? Is it making me feel like the person doesn't care about me? It's usually important for us to get into a point of self-reflection to think about, why am I being triggered? Like Acha said, she knows she's triggered by fireworks because of her previous experience with war. So really important for us to know what is underneath our triggers. Somebody said I don't have control over a situation. Exams, yeah, that's a common one, especially if we've not done well in a previous exam, or if we grew up in a family where our academic performance is really what matters the most. We may be triggered every time you're going to do an exam, because you think, if I get a B, then my parent won't be as happy. It means I'm not as smart. It means I'm not worthy. So kind of gets back to us sitting with that trigger and knowing what is underneath that. When I don't have much control or any control over the outcome of a situation, yeah, that's triggering for majority of us. Thank you for sharing. At your next slide is inconsistency. Yeah, Michael says inconsistency. So remember that stress occurs in a response to threat or a major challenge. When we feel threatened, when we have this huge challenge that is overwhelming. And like I said, they all have different triggers. It's important for us to be aware of that. Our personalities or temperaments are going to impact what triggers us. For people who are very structured, for example, that want things done well, they have their diaries, they have their planners, they plan their things. As soon as anything gets out of structure, they are going to be triggered. So for you to be aware of that. It's people who are more introverted, for example, and they go in a meeting, even one like this, and if they're being asked to talk, that pressure may trigger them because naturally they would prefer to be not to talk. And then for those who are what we call go-getters, my high achiever people, like I need to get this done, I must get an A, I must get this job done. The moment there are delays that may impact their goals and their targets, they are going to be triggered. So it's really important for us to continue to reflect on what our triggers are. And our personality, like I said, and temperament is very important. If you don't know your personality type or your temperament, I would highly encourage you to take one. There are many free personality or temperament tests online. I would highly encourage you to do that. Next slide, please. Yeah, so within the workplace, just not maybe all of us are in the workplace, but for those who are already in the workplace in some way, some of the things that can trigger us are demands. If you can't cope with the demands of your job, I mean, this goes with school as well. If you feel that the expectations of your professors, of your lecturers are beyond what you can provide in the moment, you are going to be triggered. Control, we talked a lot about that. If you feel you have no control how you do your work or how you complete your assignments, and may be triggered. Support, if you don't have enough support or information, you are going to be stressed. Think about it, doing an assignment for your class and your professor does not provide very clear expectations. You don't know what the rubric, how they're going to be grading your assignment. For some people, then be stressed by that. Relationships, if you're struggling with co-workers or within the family, our roles, if you don't fully understand what's expected of you, if there are changes happening, for those who work for non-profit organizations, for example, if you know there's a restructure, there's a donor who's withdrawing funding, that may then make you stressed out, and then also lead to job insecurity for people who are moving towards retirement. For some people, retirement is very triggering, and they will be stressed about that. Next, please. Yeah, within the family, when there is divorce or separation or marital conflicts within our relationships, whether it's ours or our parents or our primary caregivers, though having a baby, for some people, having a baby is stressful, and parenting challenges. Think about having a child with special needs. If your child gets a diagnosis like autism or ADHD, that can be very stressful. For some people who are pregnant, maybe having some medical issues as well, caring for a sick relative like a parent who's getting older, or just any other person who's unwell can cause stress within our social relationships. I kind of mentioned that already. Medical conditions, think about your partner or your sibling or your child getting a diagnosis of something as scary as cancer, that it can be stressful. Loss and grief, when we lose loved ones. There's what we call invisible disability or medical conditions. So sometimes we have disability that other people don't know. Think about chronic pain. For example, they really have chronic pain that they don't share. They'll just take pain medication to manage it and still show up at work, show up at school, but that is stressful for them. Or a medical condition that people can't see or they haven't shared yet, that they have a diagnosis, but then they have to navigate the world like everything is okay. That can contribute to stress. And invisible personal challenges like miscarriages. A lot of people don't share when they've had a miscarriage. So especially in the first few weeks, nobody knows that you are pregnant, nobody knows that you lost a pregnancy, and yet they still expect you to, for example, come to work or go to school. And those are trying to conceive and have a baby as well. That can really be stressful. Next. Common stress symptoms. So how do we know that we are stressed? Emotionally, difficulty in concentrating. If before you're able to sit down and write your paper and complete those 5 pages of your assignment, but now you can't do that. It's really hard for you to concentrate. When you lose confidence in your job or in your academic pursuits, there's just low motivation to do anything, whether it's going for work or getting your schoolwork done. Your head is just foggy. It's so difficult for you to make decisions. Yet before you're able to do that, you become very indecisive. You're feeling depressed or emotionally low. You're feeling anxious or worried. You're irritable. Or have a short temper. There's some. I'm seeing some hands up. Do you have a question, Teresa? Maybe that was by mistake. If you're very irritable and having a short temper, you're normally a person who's chill, but then you find yourself, you're easily irritated by the smallest things. And then just feeling overwhelmed, like all the time, whether you're going to school or going to work or within your family, you are just feeling exhausted and overwhelmed. It could be a sign that you are stressed. Does this ring a bell for us? Okay, next slide. Yeah, physical symptoms without underlying medical conditions. You're feeling tired all the time and low energy. You're having diarrhea or constipation. You're having indigestion issues. You're bloated all the time. You can't explain it, but your muscles are aching and there's tension and there are pains. There are headaches. You're getting these unexplainable headaches all the time. And for some people, even when they take pain medication, they're still having these headaches, these migraines. Gaining or losing a lot of weight. Just feeling a tightness or tension in our chest can be a sign of stress. Having sexual problems. For some people, they will not be wanting to be intimate anymore. And for ladies, sometimes they may struggle to conceive when they are going through stress. Behavioral. So how do you behave when you are stressed? Sometimes you're eating more, or who are what you call emotional eaters, like when they're stressed, they're eating more food to feel better. And usually someone said we are going to eat unhealthy food. You're going to go for chips, crisps, things like that, things that are crunchy, things that have more salt, more sugar, more oil, things that are deep fried, right? And then for some, they will eat less, expressing trouble sleeping, and that includes either you struggle to fall asleep, or even when you fall asleep, you keep waking up, or you wake up and you're exhausted. You slept for 6 hours, 7 hours, but you wake up in the morning and you're still tired. That means you didn't get a good sleep. Isolating yourself from other people, you become withdrawn. You're so overwhelmed, you don't want to talk to anybody. Emotional outburst, the smallest thing just makes you either cry, scream, or have a fight with people. You may move to using alcohol, tobacco, or take drugs to try and cope during this time. Is something that I see a lot in my young adult clients, that when they're overwhelmed at work or with other things going on, most of them are likely to start to drink more than usual, or use tobacco. And then you're going to make more mistakes at work than usual. And that all comes from our struggles to be present, our struggles to concentrate and to focus on tasks. We're not going to watch that video because of time, but it's a really cool video. It's about 5 minutes, but you can put it on chat. I would really encourage us to watch it. It really gives us a definition of what happens when we are stressed. Yeah. I would highly encourage you to either figure out how to copy and paste on your own browser. Next slide, please. So how does stress impact our chronic stress, especially impact our physical body? Like I already said, the chronic muscle tension is going to contribute to migraines and headaches. Stress impacts every part of our body, from our respiratory systems. It will trigger conditions like asthma. The people who get asthma as adults, a lot of them is because of stress, and even with children. Our heart is going to be impacted. High stress, chronic stress is linked to risk for hypertension, for heart attack, for stroke. It's going to impact our immune systems. So our body is going to our body's ability to fight infections is going to be low. That's why when you're stressed, you are going to get more infections. Every cold that comes around, you're going to pick it up. People who are having infections all the time, you always want to check your stress. Your gut health, it's going to impact your digestion. I talked about bloating earlier and struggling to go to the bathroom. Like you either have constipation or you have loose stool. For the men, the male reproductive system, stress is linked to low sexual desire, sperm quality and quantity. So that's why when people are struggling to conceive as couples, doctors will always ask them to watch their stress levels. And for the ladies, it's going to impact our female reproductive system. For example, their menstruation may come early or take longer or just not show up for months. For those who have premenstrual symptoms, it's going to get worse. We're talking about cramps and bloating. They'll have low sexual desire. They may struggle to conceive. And for those who are older, it may worsen their menopausal challenges. So as you can see, our entire body is impacted by stress on our mental health, depression, anxiety, insomnia, concentration. And if we already have existing mental health conditions, stress is going to make it worse. I see this a lot with my adult clients already having trauma or anxiety issues. The moment they get stressed, it's going to get worse. So how do we handle stress? I know we've all been waiting to see what are the practical things they're going to talk about. One of the things when you're faced with a real or perceived stressful situation, focus on the resources you have to meet this challenge. Sit down and think about, okay, I'll go by the example that I probably gave about the nanny. My nanny is unwell in this moment. Whom do I have in my community that I can reach out to help in this moment? Seeing the potential and benefits of the situation. If, for example, you're really stressed out about school, you realize that you did your work late and you submitted that assignment right on time and you're very stressed about it. You're like, okay, I have learned that I need to do my work early. I need to plan better next semester as I plan for school. Reminding yourself of your strengths, reminding yourself, I can think, I am a quick thinker rather, I'm able to write, whatever your personal strengths are, for you to remind yourself of those strengths. Because the moment when we are stressed, we are very, very overwhelmed and we think that, oh my gosh, I can't do anything. I am so inadequate in this moment. It's okay to take a deep breath and remind yourself of what you do well and what your strengths are, and adopting a positive mindset. Next slide, please. Some strategies: identify your stress triggers. What are your stress triggers? Whether it's at school, at work, within the family, know what your stress triggers are. Engage in self-awareness and reflection. Take time to think about you. Reflect on your current stressful event. Identify what's contributing to this stress. What were my reactions? What are my responses? What can I do differently? Seek help from friends and family. If you're going through a stressful moment at work or you've just lost a loved one, make sure you're seeking support from your community. Your tasks and commitments, make sure you are making them a priority as much as you can. Set clear boundaries in your personal relationships and at work. Sometimes you have very blurry boundaries with people. And for example, a friend calls you and is asking you to hang out on Friday, right? But you have an assignment due Sunday at midnight. But you haven't done your assignment and you don't know how to set boundaries with your friend and say, hey, I'm unable to hang out on Friday. I have work to do. We just then go ahead and go party, and then we are stressed out on Sunday trying to get our work done. Know what is in your control and what is not in your control. I want to show you guys a picture of that. Like I said, set very clear boundaries, and then monitor social media usage. There are many benefits of social media. We connect with people and all of that. But sometimes if we are spending 6 hours a day on TikTok, on Snapchat, on Instagram, on Facebook, name it, YouTube, you know. So we're going to see people's lives and remember that what we see on social media is not sometimes true. People show you they're at the beach, they're having a great time, they're having the best meal. Maybe that's not true. Maybe they're really going through a difficult time and they're using that to just mask. And then you begin to want their life. But also, research has really linked social media use to anxiety, especially among teenagers and young adults. So let's monitor that. If you're just if for those that are team leaders or you work, you lead a department, making sure you're giving your people clear job descriptions and expectations, creating a supportive environment for the team, dealing with issues as they show up, and having a supportive feedback process. Next. Oh, our time is going fast. Let's go to the next one, please. Yeah, so I want us to just take a minute or so and look at this image. I hope you can all see it. So there are things that are out of our control and there are things that are in our control. Many times we get stressed when we get stuff that is out of our control and we try to control them. Then the things that are in our control, we imagine they're out of our control. For example, if I am so focused on actions of other people, of their opinions about me, do they like my dress? Do they like my hair? Do they like the course that I'm doing in college, the program that I'm doing? That is out of my control. I can't control how people think or perceive me, right? But if I start to think I can control that by how I show up in spaces, I'm going to be stressed. And the things that are in my control, for example, my boundaries, if I am not taking care of that, I'm going to be stressed. You know, if I'm allowing other people to do whatever they want with my space and time, we are going to be stressed. So I just want to take a moment and look at that image. What are the things that are out of your control that you're trying to put in the inner box, and what are the things that are in your control that right now is out of control for you? I'll give just maybe one person to share with us what this image means for them or what's coming up for them as they look at it. Any person? All right, next slide, please. Because of time. Yeah, another way to think about is what you call board of directors. Decision-making process can contribute to our stress. Determine whom you accept your board as on your board to help you make decisions. Reflect and make any necessary changes. There are times you have to fire some people on your board. So think about whom, by this board of directors, we mean whom do you go to when you need to make decisions for a second opinion or to just share what you're planning. If you have 10 people, you have to call your best friend, your best friend's mother, your mom, your dad, your boyfriend, your neighbor, your grandmother, your uncle, your aunt. By the time all those guys, they're going to all have different perspectives about whether you should go to medical school or not, for example, right? And so I'm just giving that as an example. So, or you should date somebody or whatever decisions that you're navigating in that moment. So making sure that you don't have way too many people in your board of directors, but also knowing when you need to fire some people or retire some people in your board of directors. Otherwise, you're going to be stressed because you now have opinions of 10 people and you're trying to make a decision. So making sure that we are intentional about whom are we allowing in our space to help us make those decisions. Another way we can manage stress, take care of your physical health. When was the last time you went for your annual physical, medical exam? When you just went to see a doctor? When was the last time you went for your annual physical medical exam? When you just went to see a doctor? When was the last time you went for your annual physical medical exam? When you just went to see a doctor? When was the last time you went for your annual physical medical exam? When you just went to see a doctor? When was the last time you went for your annual physical medical exam? When you just went to see a doctor? When was the last time you went for your annual physical medical exam? When you just went to see a doctor? When was the last time you went for your annual physical medical exam? When you just went to see a doctor? When was the last time you went for your annual physical medical exam? When you just went to see a doctor? When was the last time you went for your annual physical medical exam? When you just went to see a doctor? When was the last time you went for your annual physical medical exam? When you just went to see a doctor? When was the last time you went for your annual physical medical exam? When you just went to see a doctor? When That's important. When was the last time you exercised? I'm not saying gym membership, just taking a walk, maybe stretching, balanced diet. What are you eating? Is it just fries and Rolex? Having vegetables and all the things that we need. Are we sleep? What time are we going to sleep? I know it's exam time for some of the folks here, as I heard earlier, where we are working on an assignment until 1 a.m. and then you're trying to wake up at 6. By making sure we are having regular sleep. What time do you go to bed? If you are part of a spiritual community or religious community, being part of that, engaging with that, exploring new hobbies as well, practicing what you call relaxation techniques like deep breathing, all can help us manage stress. Next slide, please. I know I've talked a lot. I always like more interaction when I'm presenting, but it's sometimes a little bit difficult when you have a time crunch. So I'm just going to teach you a very brief exercise, something you can do when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling stressed out. So think about, what is your safe place? What is that place that calms you down, that gives you inner peace, that adds joy to you, right? For some people, it's being by the beach, being by the lake, seeing trees, or watching the sunset. For most people, it's something naturally, or for some people say, oh, my safe place is my house, or it's my bedroom, or being in a certain portion of my house. So I'm going to give you half a minute. We're going to practice this together. Imagine that you're stressed. Think about the last stressful event that you had. And I'm going to invite you to either close your eyes or look down on the floor and try and imagine a safe place for you, whether it's by the lake or watching the sunset. I'll invite you to close your eyes or look down and think about that place. If it's by the lake or whatever, imagine the sounds, the smells, what is around you. Just begin to focus on that safe place right now. Let's take about a minute or two. And notice what's going on in your body. Hopefully you're feeling a bit more relaxed, less tension. I'll invite you to take some deep breaths. Okay, and now let's either open your eyes or look up so you can get back together. Okay, thank you. Next slide, please. And I think that's it. Yeah, you can stop sharing, and then I can actually turn on my video now. Power is back. Yeah, so I am done with my presentation. I'll just invite us to, I know our time is spent because we began a bit later. Someone has their hand up. There's TDJ, there is somebody else. It went off. Yeah, the first person who put their hand up. Sorry, what was that? Okay, you're okay.
But it was by mistake.
Okay, that's okay. Anybody, thank you so much. I can see all the, anybody wants to speak? Teresa, is your hand up? Okay, I'm getting a bit confused. Okay, you can put your reflections on chat. You can unmute your mic and share. What has this been like for you? What are you taking with you? Or if you have a question.
I have a question.
Mm.
How does short-term stress positively affect the memory, like your memory? You talked about it earlier, but I wanted to understand that specific part.
Yeah, thank you, Ronnie. Because in that moment, the what we call healthy stress, is going to cause you to be more creative. So you're going to be thinking better, not thinking better, but because you have now a challenge that you need to solve, it's going to trigger your brain to give you all the resources that you need to solve that problem. So it's going to help with your memory. You're going to remember different ways to be creative and solve a challenge. And if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Anything that you're taking with you as well, you can put on chat. Somebody said memory before the exam is peak. Acha, you have your hand up.
So I had a question. Because like I made a statement that that um learning how to managing your stress, like it helps you live longer and healthy and like a much more healthy life. And someone asked me, is this true? So I don't know. I need, I'm looking for validation because I saw the person come in. So I'm looking for validation to let the person know that I don't know. Let us know. Is it true?
Yeah, I mean, I also had the time I would ask people, but from what I presented, just the impact of stress on all the parts of our bodies. Think about our physical bodies, the impact on our gut, the impact on our heart, the impact on all the different parts of our bodies. So if we manage stress well, definitely you're going to live a more healthy life and hopefully we'll live longer. So yes, it's true. Because stress is it's linked to everything, linked to
Right.
hypertension, to heart disease, to migraines, to asthma, to
Mm.
so many health conditions and emotional issues as well. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely manage your stress well. You're going to be more healthy. And we hope you live longer.
Yeah, thank you very much for validating that. And I also just wanted to add, I think it's like one of the things that really like spiked my interest in mental health. It's knowing like the how much mental health can actually affect our physical health. I don't think they talk about it as much. So I was thanks for like pointing out and like educating us more, like letting us know more of how much our physical health can be affected by our mental health.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Acha. Somebody said, do people whose livelihood involves stress on an almost daily basis need to have different stress management strategies? I mean, yes and no. The truth is that if somebody is stressed on a daily basis or consistently and having chronic stress, if they don't make the changes long term, it's going to impact their emotional and physical health. I work with parents a lot. So parenting is stressful. So literally you're stressed every day sometimes. And so we work with parents how to create, for example, small moments. You can't have 2 hours off when you have a small baby, when you have an infant you're caring for and you're the primary caregiver. You have no nanny. So it may be difficult to have longer breaks. So we work with parents how to be creative about their time and their resources. So if somebody is having a stressful job, for example, is working with them to have little moments, whether it's just deep breathing, or I talk when you go to the bathroom, it's your moment to just switch off and take some deep breaths if you're having a stressful job. So it's yes and no. What I would say is we have to be creative about the strategies depending on our realities. Yeah. I'm just curious. What did you learn and what are you taking with you? I really want to know what stood out for you. Yes, Ronnie, you have your hand up.
Yes, I actually wanted to talk about what I learned. Um,
Mm,
I think it's something that I used to experience with stress. It would be in my head, but like I won't have a reaction or it won't show on my face, but I would be stressed. So during
mm,
exams or something, we'll be like, oh, but you be born, you stressed. It's exams. I promise I am stressed. It's just stuck in my head, but I'm really stressed. So
mm, mm,
I think it's something I used to wonder, like, okay, why aren't I like stressed? Okay, show
mm,
that you're stressed. It affects both the physical and mental part. So I think it most times how I would experience it, I would like genuinely get stuck in my head. I would be in my head so much. I would think I can't even sleep. I can replay a conversation over 100 times. Something that happened like 2 months ago, but it's still replaying in my head just because I maybe didn't deal with it. Most of the time, I just don't deal with it, to be honest. So I think what I've learned from this is stress management is important, and like you have to deal with it because at the end of the day, it will affect your physical. It may not happen now, but it will get there. And that whole last session of breathing, imagine, oh, blah, blah, blah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes, the safe space.
Mm, mm.
I like the sun so much. It makes me happy.
Yeah.
So that really helped a lot. That those small few seconds of getting out of your head. Yeah,
Mm.
that was nice.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ronnie, for sharing. Roger said, no, somebody, Teresa learned to let go of things that are not in her control. She loved the diagram. Um, Roger said, thank you for your presentation, Hattie. Take home lesson, self-care is important. I wouldn't agree. I will not agree more than that, right? Does self-care allow letting go of people? I mean, it depends on which kind of people. You can't let go of your child. So if it's a child. That's a joke. But I mean, technically you can't. Yeah, I mean, it depends on who are the people deciding if you're in a toxic friendship or relationship. Yeah, sometimes you got to let go, build boundaries, or give them space. Yeah. Boundaries and board of directors for Archer. Anybody else?
Yeah, I just wanted to like, sorry, I'm very excited. I was very excited about this session because before the session I was stressed. Like I was like, if anyone's going to benefit from this session, it's me. It is highly me. So this session has highly benefited me. But I think I was very happy. I mean, I was very interested in like the board of directors. It's like who are we telling stuff and who are we listening from? Because like I've learned from my past experiences that I had a very large room of board of directors, and like when it was more limited and I guess like more intentional, I don't know if I could say that, like it helped me. And I realized because there's something that you mentioned. You said reminding yourself of your strengths. I realized that my board of directors do this sometimes. Like I think yesterday I experienced a point. I was like, sometime this week I was stressed. I was sick, and one of the members of my board of directors, was reminding me of my strengths and my abilities. And like I was more like encouraged and enlightened. The next day I was like active and well conducted. So I think the board of directors do play a huge role in our lives, and as well boundaries. Another thing I learned was like setting healthy boundaries really
Yeah.
does protect us from a lot for sure.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Ash, for
Yeah.
sharing. Ronnie, board of directors. Yeah. But the first time I heard about the concept, I'm like, whoa, yeah. Some people need to be fired or they need to retire off our boards. Anybody else? I think we're coming to the end. All right. I'm hoping that each of us is taking something home and that we'll, find ways to manage our stress. As I've shared, the long-term impact is a lot. I will give an example. I think about one of my aunties who for a long time, two of my aunties. So their lifestyle, they had no choice. Like they live in the village, the typical things village women do in Uganda. You dig, you do manual labor, you care for lots of children and grandchildren, and it's something I didn't see my mom go through. So it's later now that I'm seeing my aunties and the impact on their physical bodies, the autoimmune diseases they're navigating, and just tiredness, and some of them are just become mean people, not because they're mean, but because of everything they've been through, the stress they have been through, being widowed or being separated, things that they don't talk about in their generation is now having impact on them in their old age. And so that's why it's really important for us now. We have more information than our parents and our grandparents to make sure we are taking care of our bodies, we are building boundaries, and you're being intentional. There's things no one will do it for you. One of them is your mental health, your physical health, your space. Nobody can take care of your mind for you. You gotta decide what you let in and out of your mind. You gotta decide who is in your space and who's not. You gotta make those decisions. You can't wait for other people to do it. But thank you so much, Acha, for this opportunity to be here and connect with you all and share. I have had a great time just really talking about these things. I learn a lot myself every time I share about stuff I prepared, but it's a good moment. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hattie. Like, we are very, very thankful as MHU. I bet I speak on behalf of the of mental health and mass to say that we have been edified, we have been taught. I see my father stayed in for the session. My dad's in my dad's in the session. I don't know if you guys noticed the man with his camera on. That is my dad. Okay, I don't think he can hear me now.
Hi,
But
Jenny.
hi,
Yes,
dad.
Asha, we noticed. Proud of him.
Okay, I'm not quite sure my dad knows how to turn his mic on, honestly speaking. Dad, can you turn your mic on and say hi? Okay, yeah, but yeah, we are very grateful that you came, that Dr. Hattie, that you got us through the session. I believe we have all learned a lot. I personally have learned a lot, a lot, a lot. I took notes. I was, I was a bit late because like I was taking down notes. Like I have been taught. And another big thank you to everyone else that made it to the session today. We really do appreciate your presence. We love the fact that you stayed from beginning to the end. Other than that, I guess that may be it. So let's just like send in hearts and like claps for Dr. Hattie and to ourselves for being in present. And then I guess there may be two announcements. One announcement is that this was the last session of the month, but luckily for us, we will be having Dr. Hattie in the future. Right? Yeah, has confirmed in like one of the sessions. I'll be sharing the calendar for May very soon, but we will be having Dr. Hattie in the future, so we are very humbled and grateful for that. And in May, we do have about 4 sessions, including one of them being a what do they call? It's sort of self care. Oh yeah, a journaling workshop. So we're excited for that because it's like self care. We're putting to practice what we've just learned, and yeah, I would have. I think I saw. I don't know if Teresa is still in. I guess we will share in the WhatsApp group chat because Teresa is no longer in, but she will share the initiative that they're doing. But they're raising mental health awareness in South Sudan, especially in the refugee camps. They're trying to reach out to people within refugee camps and like let them know about mental health and also get themselves educated. So yeah, I will share more information in the WhatsApp group chat. Other than that, I think that's all. We'll see you next month, May 2nd. Yeah, please invite a friend. And yeah, thank you once again. Goodbye, everyone. Have a good week.